My audio is okay, right?
Yes, sir. Everything is okay. Good afternoon, everyone, all the participants and our esteemed speakers for today's session. And I, on behalf of Power to SME, welcome you all and to this learning session jointly organized by Power to SME and Wadhwani Foundation. And before we begin with the session today, I have a few requests to be made to all the participants. During the entire duration of the, I request you all to kindly be on mute and do not try to share your video, and also not to try to present your screen to the audience. And if you have any questions to be asked to the panelists, kindly submit your queries on the chat box. And uh, we have with us as a session moderator today Dr. H.P. Kumar, who is the former CMD NSIC and currently associated with Power to SME as Director External Affairs. And he shall be the key, providing you with the key takeaways of the recently announced government package for the relief of MSMEs. And the entire discussion will be revolving around this theme. Over to you, Dr. Kumar.
Thank you, Mr. Zumair. Thank you very much for organizing this webinar. It's a very interesting subject, in fact, SME financing and government interventions after post-COVID-19, of course. And a lot of people have a lot of, confusion and queries as to how they are going to restart the operations after these restrictions are lifted. So some of them have started, some of the MSMEs have started the operations with skeleton staff and with limited manpower. But then there are a lot of problems which are being, expressed by many of them. And these problems relate to the major one being non-availability of fresh orders, because the demand is yet to pick up. There is, whether you are a, ancillary suppliers to a OEM manufacturer, a big manufacturer, or you are directly supplying to the consumers any products by way of B2C, the problem of non-availability of orders continues. I hope I am audible and visible both.
Yes, please carry on, sir. Yes, okay.
So that is the foremost problem which people are expressing to me from all over the country, from various clusters. So I don't think government can help in this, or maybe we could provide any respite or assistance, because this demand creation will come, gradually. The impact of lockdown and the psychological fear and uncertainty of, of the impact of this lockdown is so much that people are, as of now, conserving their cash and assets and whatever, and holding on to them before, going for a spending spree or spending anything like the way they used to do it earlier. So whether it is automobiles or electronics or garments or costly visits to hotels and transport and tourism, all this travel, of course, and, luxury spending, absolutely not yet started. So until the demand, gets revived, and which will happen gradually, which will happen with the removal of this suspicion and fear about the future, uncertainty about the future. Hopefully the lockdown guidelines will further be relaxed from the coming week. That is what we are hearing. Although the lockdown may continue, but then more relaxations may come. People may be allowed to work from the factories and offices with full stream. So it will take little more time in, the demand getting built up. The other issues that people are facing post-COVID-19, restarting the operations, is, non-availability of labor and workers. Because during these 2.5 months, many of the employees and workers have gone back to their villages, hometowns. They are stuck somewhere or the other, and their families are somewhere, they are somewhere. So, and a lot of them have been, temporary staff and contractual labor the industries was not able to afford to continue to pay to them, so they were laid off by many of the people. The permanent employees, of course, you can't lay off, and they were continued to be paid as per the directions of the government. But practically, I see a lot of people, got separated from the uh, enterprises where they were working. So that it's again a challenge, because you can't, restart the operations with full stream without the availability of semi-skilled or skilled manpower as they were working earlier. So that is another factor which is taking a toll on the productivity and the scaling up of the operations of the MSMEs. Third, of course, is liquidity continues to be in stress. The funds availability, non-realization of payments for the supplies which were already executed earlier, that is also struck. While the checks issued by MSMEs prior to that and during the period are coming for encashment, so their limits are brimming to the full without any, and they had to pay the salaries and fixed expenditure. All these expenditure continued to be incurred. The fixed expenditure, you can't stop it. Now, for restarting the operations, you have to spend more money for maintenance, for cleanliness, for putting the infrastructure, COVID infrastructure, the requirement of the government, which the government has specified. All these things have to be prepared. Then you can't put in, there are so many other restrictions which have to be taken care of, for which you need to put in extra efforts and manpower, which again requires expenditure, whether it is continuing expenditure or a one-time expenditure. Raw material, non-availability of raw material is another, constraint, because the manufacturing of bulk raw material manufacturers, still they have not started fully, like availability of steel, aluminium, copper, zinc and plastics, and cotton and yarn and all these chemicals. These raw materials have to be fully available at competitive prices at which they were available earlier. So that is again a challenge for the MSMEs, which are used to buying very small quantities and sometimes at credit of 30 days, 45 days, 60 days, and then paying post-dated checks. And then pricing also used to be very competitive. All these factors are not available as of today. So this is another challenge. So with all these challenges, the bigger challenge, one of the bigger challenges, which is the compliances of the government, whether it is tax compliances, banking compliances, corporate compliances, GST compliances, they are still continuing. Some of them have been postponed, some of them have been deferred as per the government directives, but then the deferred dates are also falling now, unless they are again deferred. So they have to keep a track on these compliances requirements, and all these requirements have to be fulfilled. I'll take a couple of more minutes on the package which was announced earlier. And then, of course, welcome my esteemed, guests today, guest speakers. We have very eminent speakers today. I'll introduce them before I, invite them for speaking. A couple of more minutes, which I would like to mention about the relief package, which has been announced by the Government of India. It's a very welcome measure, which was, of course, expected and anticipated by the entire MSME sector in the country. Although the expectations of the industry and the people cannot be met fully, but by and large, depending upon the availability of fiscal space, fiscal resources, the government tried to balance out so that the industry also gets some relief by way of liquidity support from bank credit, and the government also doesn't have to shell out a lot of money from their budget allocation, which would deteriorate their fiscal deficit, and which might result at a later stage. The apprehension is that if you go for too much of spending and increase your fiscal deficit, your ratings, international sovereign rating, might go down. And we are all aware that India is sitting on a border line of rating, investment grade. And if you go down below the investment grade, it goes to junk. And what will happen in that case about the FDI and all these foreign resources which we are raising, the bonds prices, the inflation, then there will be a bigger chaos, which will be totally unmanageable, might become unmanageable. So you look at that apprehensions, you can do a very limited work within the available resources and you can provide limited relief. So within that parameters, within those parameters, the government tried to give something to the MSMEs by way of 6 announcements which we are aware. One is 3 lakh crore worth of additional credit from the banking sector, which is fully guaranteed by the government of India. This 3 lakh crore also includes 20,000 crore of lending by way of subordinated debt. Subordinated debt will be given only to those MSMEs which are either NPA or stressed, so that they can also get regularized and get the support of the government. So this is 3 lakh crore which is to be given collateral free, and rate of interest is also capped. So banks have to give this, and I don't think, but it will be given only to those MSMEs which already had operational accounts with them, with banks, and they were availing the credit limit, and the ceiling of 25 crore has been prescribed. So the maximum that one can get is 5 crore as 20% of the existing outstanding. And some of the people asked me whether the non-funded facilities like LC and bank guarantee are also included in 25 crore. So it has been clarified, LC, bank guarantee are not included. It is only the fund-based limits which are there. Second, of course, the definition change which we have deliberated. I was talking to Shri Vijay Kumarji, who is the very senior person in the Ministry of MSME as Director of MSME DI, the Development Institute, Okhla. We were talking about the possibility of further change in the definition, which the Honorable Minister mentioned about few days back, but after the definition was announced by the Finance Minister. So, the general feel as of now is that it may be very difficult for the government again to change the definition, because these things are announced only after consulting various ministries and government stakeholders, with state governments particularly. So you can't keep changing in 10 days, 15 days. It may get changed after a couple of years, or maybe after some time, if there are a lot of pressure gets built and people really start feeling constraints in the existing definition. There was another announcement in the package, was that 50,000 crore fund of funds. That is in fact a long demand which has been fulfilled by the government to provide equity support to those MSMEs which are going to be listed. So it will be a little contribution of 10-15% from the government to their equity participation. The only reservation that has been expressed is that government is going to provide 10,000 crore, and the balance 40,000 crore, which is called a daughter funds from various organizations, will be tapped. So that 50,000 crore will become a corpus. What we have requested is that this 50,000 crore corpus should remain with the government. It should not be handed over to some agency, which again starts putting their own restrictions and guidelines, and ultimately the purpose of the setting up of this fund gets defeated if you put so many restrictions and guidelines. Case in point which I can refer is that fund of 10,000 crore was established in 2016, and that was basically for funding the startups by way of some startup money, angel funding and venture funding. But hardly is as per the latest information which I was reading, only 3,000 crore something out of that 10 over a period of 4 years has been committed, and only 700-800 crore has been disbursed. So if the fund remains as fund only and starts earning interest of its own, so there is no point in setting up such fund. So our recommendation was that this fund of funds should be set up in such a way that it is done so professionally that the government also participates and government has a full control over this, so that the objective can be achieved. So these are some of the measures which the government took by way of relief package. And if there is any difficulty in availing, the Ministry of MSME has set up these centers all over the country for redressal of their queries and complaints. Mr. Vijay Kumar will be able to explain, I think, what is that new initiative which the government has taken. So I think I will stop here and would like to invite now with the guest speakers who would inform about the scenario as of now and what exactly is in store, in fact, for the MSME sector in future and how the government can help them. So let me acknowledge the presence of two eminent, panelist speakers, guests, and welcome them, of course. Shri Vijay Kumar, who is the director of MSME Development Institute, Okhla, New Delhi.
Yeah, thank you.
And a very senior person with more than 40 years of experience, highly connected with the MSME sector in the country, a stalwart in, setting up policies and procedures of the government, setting up various schemes of the government. So we can't find a better person than Mr. Vijay Kumar ji, who can explain your, the current scenario and what is possible for the MSMEs post COVID-19. You can also get his telephone number so that at a later stage, if you want any information, further information and all that, that you can contact him. So first of all, I'll invite him, but let me also introduce my other guest speakers, Shri Ramesh Jairaman, who is the CFO partner of South India CFO Bridge, which is based in probably Bangalore. I think he will be able to tell you better.
Yes, sir.
Bangalore,
Yeah.
based in Bangalore, isn't it?
Based in Bangalore, that's
But
correct.
Mr. Jairaman looks after not only Bangalore, but also manages both Bangalore and Chennai operations. And I was very impressed reading his, CV and the experience, that wide experience that he has of more than 25 years of working in India as well as US in various sectors, but most, specifically in pharma and healthcare, which are his key sectors of expertise. And I mean, in addition to his interest in the health and pharma, but I was told that he is also very much at ease in dealing with any startups and SMEs in the country. So we'll be very happy to enrich, in fact, from his knowledge. I'll invite him later after Mr. Vijay Kumar. So first of all, Vijay Kumar ji, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Kumar sir. And my all other colleagues and dear members. I think Kumar sir has said everything. I think he has not left anything for me to say. But I want to just add it. How the ministry, has taken some decisions, major decisions, I say so, in the last 1 month to cater the MSME sector across the country. On this 12th of May, all over India, we have opened more than 200, we call it Champions Grievance Center, right? Grievance centers. MSMEs have grievances, right? All kind of grievances, problems, including finance, marketing, export, packaging, right? Everything, public procurement policy. So these centers have already started functioning from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock in the night. And the website of this is champions.gov.in. You can, if you are sitting in Chennai, if you have any problem of your unit, existing unit, or maybe prospective entrepreneur you are finding a difficulty, maybe a power department, electricity department, or maybe bank, you just open this website, lodge your grievance, it will automatically address in 72 hours. This is the time limit we have fixed. So this is the kind of beginning the ministry has done. It was not earlier. So these grievances centers, I'm in charge of the entire Delhi and NCR region. NCR means Ghaziabad, Noida, Faridabad, Gurgaon, and obviously Delhi, where 8 officers are working from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock in the night, and every day we are getting around 15 to 20 grievances from MSMEs. Out of this, 80% belonging to, yes, finance. Some banks are not financing, some are financing but 10%, some are giving 15%, some are giving though 20%, but entrepreneur need more. All kind of grievances, maybe registration on JAM, registration on Udyog Aadhar, whatnot, all grievances. So what I request you all, please communicate to all your colleagues and members that since this grievance center has come up to address the grievances problems of MSME sector from Jammu Kashmir to Kanyakumari, please use this platform. We are ready to help you out. This is one. Let me start one by one. Kumar Sahib has said earlier, first point, that what will happen when the MSMEs, particularly micro unit, which we say claim 99% in India, right? They are not getting the orders. If they get money, suppose as a working capital 20%, or if they manage their own resources, where from the orders will come? And second thing, even if order comes, if they start supplying to a person, how they get money back when there is a market is closed or market is very uneven? Yeah, these are the big challenges, very big challenges. But anyway, like I have done it, I have started, like let me say so, from 4th of this month, 4th of June, I am personally inviting the executive director and the general manager a webinar from each government of India public sector undertakings. Like on 4th, I am having with Indian Oil Corporation, right? I want to ensure that those MSMEs which are interested or can register through JAM and want to supply some items to the Indian Oil Corporation, how IOCL can help the new entrepreneurs. This I'm starting. Then I'll take NTPC, BHEL, so on and so forth, including railway. I have planned around 20th of June. What I'm trying to tell you is marketing is a big challenge. We as a ministry can do only with the government of India, either ministry or CPSUs. So sitting in Delhi, I am doing for the Delhi people, but the CPSUs, but my colleagues sitting like in Chennai, Mumbai or Bangalore, all CPSUs, they are addressing in their region. So I request you all, dear members, that if you are manufacturing any such product, which you can supply to any CPSUs, even the state CPSUs, please get registered yourself on JAM. Then I can put pressure on the these all CPSUs or maybe the ministries that look, these are the MSME units. Because I'm telling you recently, we are getting a kind of mail and letters from many departments, including IOCL. We want to buy, say, 1 lakh mask. We want to buy 2,000 PP kit. All these, sanitizers. Give us the list of manufacturers. So we provide a list of those micro, small scale units. Believe me, they help these units to get registered on JAM. They did it. And they also put the trial order in a period of 15 days time. So what I'm trying to say is that, yes, it's a big challenge for marketing, but I request you all people, try to find out all your means, through your means, your own marketing. But as far as the other part is concerned, the marketing, if you feel that some products which are manufacturing, I said earlier, can supply to the state. Even I request the Delhi government. I met personally with the minister also, Delhi minister, Mr. Satyam Jain, industry minister. I met twice in the last 15 days. He has assured me that in Delhi, all those micro, small scale manufacturers, any product, which I needed, he said it, you directly give me a list, my PS, to give a list of those manufacturers to my PS. We will take care. We will see that a minimum order quantity will be placed to those micro, small scale units situated in Delhi. So what I'm trying to tell you is the state governments and the government of India are, as far as
Mr. Vijay Kumar, you are not audible. You need to unmute yourself. You got muted.
I think it's okay.
Yeah, now it's okay. Now it's okay.
Oh, sorry. Earlier it was not audible.
No, for only 5 seconds.
Okay. So now come to the, let us say the finance. I have personally met with the last, I say in 25, 30 days, about 10 to 15, the senior office, I say general managers level in the banks. I'm personally monitoring each and every case. Any grievance comes to me. Suppose any entrepreneur writes, sir, this is my limit. Now bank is not financing. I take that matter in 12 hours to the 24 hours. I see that he get his, his share committed by the Ministry of Finance or the RBI. So finance part, we are personally monitoring it. Banks are providing it because banks have very standing orders. I'll give you a very classical example. Canara Bank, Okla, I'm just saying, maybe you people sitting in the entire country, there is one place called Okla. They have 1700 micro small scale units members, that bank. Can you believe that in 20 days of time, just 20 days, all those 1700 people, MSMEs, they were invited, they were informed that look, your 20% were this, of your working capital or maybe term loan outstanding, what you would call it, is available with you. If you want to have it, you can have it. So finance part, yes, we are seeing it, Delhi NCR region. This is second. Now, third one is, which we are doing it is that through our schemes and programs, leaving aside what finance ministry has provided, every MSME is aware that 3 lakh crore rupees is there, 20,000 crore rupees has come for stress NPA, 50,000 crore for funds to fund, those which units will be enlisted or which are doing outstanding. This is available to everybody and everybody knows. Now, what ministry is doing now? We are identifying across the country in maybe in some few weeks time through various resources and obviously through associations. Those MSME units which are making their products, tested products with national standards. Those units, then we will put on the platform, the MSME, not MSME platform, local platform. And we will provide them a platform that this platform will be linked to not only to CPSUs, but all the state governments, to all the big players, so that a kind of marketing, a kind of marketing platform they have it. This is the fourth one. Now, fifth one is there are many much more schemes and programs. I don't want to discuss it, though I will tell you, but the kind of schemes and programs, if you go to our website, dcmsme.gov.in, I think it will be better. Very small, simple schemes. It may be designing of products. It may be for wastage reduction. It may be for zero defect, zero effect. It may be for marketing. It may be for setting up of the common facility centers. So we have more than 24, 25 such, schemes where all MSMEs are availing these schemes. I'll be happy that if you start availing these schemes, and these schemes are available uniformly, again I say uniformly, from Jammu Kashmir to Kanyakumari. We have all the offices across the country. So I'll not take much time, only I'll put it my question answer. My only request to you is that Delhi NCR region, anything for finance, anything for marketing, and these issues, and anything which you want to supply to the Government of India CPSUs, to the ministries, I am personally taking it up, because I'm not posing myself, but many of my colleagues have not taken, because every day if you take like 4th June, Indian Oil Corporation, 6th June is NTPC, then 9th June, I'm making their life little miserable, They must know that MSME, micro small scale units, they are manufacturing a kind of a very high quality product, and you need it. You had to provide, this is Government of India instructions also. So through webinar, I'll join it 100, 200, 300 members. I do have your details. If need be, I'll take all your details from Mr. Zubair, Mohammed Zubair. So I'll also give you the information, and I will have the all kind of webinar with these people, so that you can also join. If you are manufacturing, you can also start supplying through registration. Thank you very much, Kumar sir.
Thank you, Vijay Kumarji. I think your words are of great value and give a lot of assurance to the MSMEs. As always, you have been a friend, philosopher, and guide of MSMEs. I have seen that personally. In fact, we have worked together. So, nothing better than what you said, the kind of assurance that you give. And
Thank
any
you, sir.
MSMEs can approach you. That is the best offer that one can give for any clarification or any assistance. Because I know
Sir.
there are various schemes of the Government of India which are for the benefit and help to the micro, small, and medium enterprises. And
Yes, sir.
most of these schemes are not known to the MSMEs, in fact, for whom they are meant for. So this is a big opportunity, in fact, post COVID-19, maybe that people start looking at these schemes also, because otherwise they were very comfortable earlier, many of them, and probably they may not be wanting to utilize those schemes. But now the time has come when everybody is feeling little constrained and stressed financially and order-wise and marketing-wise. So naturally, these schemes will be of great help. And your offers and information about various schemes is also very useful. I know you are a very practical person, so people will take the liberty, and I myself will refer so many things and cases to you for your
Sir, sir.
guidance.
Yeah, please, please, sir.
Well, let me also say now, before inviting my other guest speakers, that this program has been organized by Power to SME and Vadhwani Foundation jointly. Power to SME, where I am also associated as Director External Affairs, is a all India based organization for the for providing various support services, particularly the raw materials and other consumable stores and other MRO items which are used by the small enterprises all over the country with competitive pricing and better terms than other suppliers. The advantage with Power to SME is that they are they have MOUs with various big manufacturers of raw materials manufacturers in the country and have arrangements with them so that they can get best prices directly from the manufacturers and supply at the same prices with a very small margin. Sometimes they charge only 0.25% margin on the prices, and then they supply directly to the MSMEs, warehouses, and manufacturing facilities. It depends, in fact, the cost of how much distance one needs to be supplied with. But the whole objective is to remove the intermediaries, that is the wholesalers, retailers, which add up to almost 10 to 15% of the cost. So there is a direct saving of 10 to 15% if you are procuring from the Power to SME. It's a very well organized, professionally managed company. It has been funded by the World Bank Group with All India presence, and also big names in the venture funding organizations in the country, including Mr. Nandan Nilekani's venture fund and other very big funds. So you can have the benefit of the expertise and the price competitiveness by availing the services from the Power to SME. They also provide raw material credit support through various attractive schemes. So that is about Power to SME. And Vadhwani Foundation, of course, you are aware, it's an international body for various charitable and other philanthropic activities, but mainly in the area of entrepreneurship development, skilling, and capacity building of the people in general, and MSMEs, micro, small, and medium enterprises in particular. So we are happy that these organizations have taken a lead in starting these programs of interaction, helping the MSMEs by way of interactions and settling their queries. So let me now invite our other, the second guest speaker, Mr. Ramesh Jayaraman. I have already introduced him. He is a very eminent person, connected, very well networked with the MSME sector, I'm sure he is going to give you some very, very professional inputs out of his experience of dealing with the MSMEs. So over to you, Mr. Jairam.
Thank you, Dr. Kumar. Appreciate the introduction. Thanks to Power SME and Advani Foundation for having me here. I guess it's a very interesting time, challenging time for all of us in many ways. The eminent speakers earlier, they've already mentioned most of the things, but I just wanted to sort of, I guess, highlight the industry perspective, how people are feeling, what are the things that the stimulus package can do. First of all, it's at the macro level, I guess the sovereign rating and other challenges, the fact that the bulk of the money has actually gone to the workforce of 46.5 crores or thereabouts, people who are in agriculture, people who are the casual workers. The government is basically committed towards direct spend in terms of making sure that the food security and the MNREGA related initiatives are taken care of. Primarily, that will be the cash disbursement part. The MSME package is more intended, more like an oxygen. It's like a support to sort of restart the business. Fundamentally, the government has taken the perspective of more of providing guarantees and sort of taking, I guess, some kind of perspective as it relates to potential defaults. So it's good directionally. It's headed the right way. More needs to be done, but I think it's clearly meant to revive businesses which are going through the lockdown situation. So I think that's very important to keep in perspective. Now, the classification has changed. It's a combination of investment and turnover going up to 100 crores. Most of the questions people have seem to be, I would like to sort of take on more like me asking the question and sort of clarifying the answer, which could hopefully be helpful to the people in this audience. And also talk about aspects related to what are the things which you can really need to look inward. I think it has to be a combination of both because, as Dr. Kumar said, demand is the key, and depending on the industry in which you're functioning, it's going to take time. There are some industries which are seeing quick wins like the OTT platforms, healthcare. Some have a medium-term gain in terms of certain industries. The others are going to take some more time, a few quarters before things get back to normal. So broadly, I would like to sort of ask the question and then clarify it. Some of the questions that have come up, which I'd like to sort of mention here. Can I really expect to get a 20% top-up on the outstanding balance? Well, it's basically the bank's judgment on the cash flow and the viability of the company. So it's going to be on a case-to-case basis. It's not going to be automatic, I would think. So it's something which is based on your past history and how you sort of go about it. Now, if you have a small loan or a no current loan, what happens in those cases? I think it's more of the outstanding balance as of 29th February. So the eligible borrowers up to say 24 crores outstanding, they'll be eligible for 20% of that, and up to a turnover of 100 crores. And it covers the working capital loans also, just to sort of clarify on that. One of the other questions that come up is, if I have a, how does it really work? I mean, clearly it has got a 4-year term loan. There is a 1-year moratorium in terms of the principal repayment, but the interest has to be serviced. So that's important to keep in mind in terms of your cash flow planning. Will it be really collateral free? Yes, the top-up portion is clearly collateral free. I think that's been repeatedly clarified, so we can take umbrage under that. What about processing time? Will it be really automatic? I think it's something which is not very clear in the scheme as of now. Clearly, the intent is to sort of disperse the amounts before 31st October 2020. That is from the period May 23rd, 2020 to 31st October 2020. So which happens earlier? Is it going to be 31st October, or if the amount is going to be dispersed much earlier in terms of the whole period is what we need to see. Have the banks actually started funding? I think the PSU banks have started. Private banks, I think, are waiting for more internal clarity. So it's going to be sort of a few more weeks, I would say, of wait in terms of action happening at the ground level. Some banks have clearly started. So which are the banks? We can separately take that and sort of circulate amongst the audience so that way it's clear. And one important thing to be kept in mind is if you have a loan through one bank, you can get the top up through another bank. So you have to get an NOC, but it can be done. I think it's an important factor to keep in mind. What are the other things? I mean, it's the interest rate for the top up is restricted to 9.25% in the case of banks and financial institutions, and in the case of NBFCs, it's at 14%. Even if the original loan is at a higher rate. So that interest rate cap is also mentioned. Other matters, what is that I really need to do to apply to the loans? I mean, you just have to reach out to your bank. You have a relationship person, you just have to meet that person and talk with reference to the scheme. There is a scheme document that has been given. So we can go through that and then talk to the banks as it relates to these matters. Now, what are the options if you have revenue over 100 crores? As of now, you're not qualified under the scheme. And as Dr. Kumar mentioned earlier, I don't know whether it's going to happen. But as it stands today, it's for people who have revenues under 100 crores. How do you sort of address other things? What will be the impact as it relates to startups and SMEs which don't have a loan as of 29th February? It's going to be difficult. I mean, I guess the history, so to speak, in terms of how your repayment has happened over a period of time might be a factor. And if you don't have a loan outstanding as of 29th February, then you go through the process again as if you're a new customer. Clearly, the banks are in a mood to listen. Even today, there's been an announcement, not announcement, I would say more like an expectation as it relates to the risk allocation of the banks in terms of certain sectors. Some sectors go up to 100% like real estate. So there is a request, at least for the SMEs, to temper that or remove that risk assessment, which could possibly help the banks to assess the loans better, which would also mean interest rate optimization, and hopefully it means faster disbursement of loans also. But these things have to play out over the next few weeks. We have to wait and see how the impact is going to be. About other plans which have been mentioned, the subordinated debt for the stressed SMEs, that's clearly for more of the promoters are given some kind of an equity support, which they in turn can put into the company, and then there'll be a partial guarantee given by the government, the CGT SME, which will help the company to sort of revive and hopefully get out of an NPA situation. Other things, the equity infusion fund of funds, it's already been discussed. So I think it's more like a startup model, which has been tried to replicate in the MSME sector, and we have to see how it plays out. As it's clear to everyone, I think it's a 50,000 crore fund of funds, out of which the government is going to put in about 10,000 crores, which is 20%. Broadly, other things that have come in is more in terms of cash flow related. People are doing business with the government. I guess the MSME receivables, it's expected that the government is going to pay off them by over the next 45 days, that is from May 23rd. So people should expect the government dues to come back sooner rather than later. And I have seen companies, clients tell us also the money started to come in, including the TDS refunds that are due. So that is one other thing which is happening clearly. Global tenders, I mean, companies which are doing business with government and the tender process. So up to 200 crores, other companies outside India are not allowed. So to that extent, the Make in India and the effort to protect the MSME sector, not MSME, companies up to 200 crores, I mean, the tenders up to 200 crores will be protected in terms of only Indian companies being able to quote on that. So the NBFC sector, in terms of liquidity, will hopefully also lead to more onward lending. Obviously, it's not going to be the same kind of interest rates that a bank or financial institution would give. But at least the NBFC should start extending more. And as of now, for the top-up loan, it's 14%. For any other new loan, whether NBFCs are going to sort of be more amenable to lend further will be an important point to note and observe over the next few weeks or months. The other point in terms of non-fund based, the government agencies are also partially releasing the bank guarantees, which will be a huge relief in terms of release of the non-funded limits. And the other thing, not to get constrained in the COVID environment with social distancing and other events not happening in terms of trade fairs and all that, there is the e-market linkage, which is to be promoted. We have to see how that plays out and various things which are happening in terms of enabling certain things through an e-market model. The moratorium on the term loan installment and then the interest on the working capital deferral has been extended till 31st August 2020 by another 3 months. So the accumulated interest as of 31st August will be converted into a funded interest term loan, which is repayable by 31st March 2021. There have also been some extensions in terms of the export process realization from 9 months to 15 months. So basically for exports made through 31st July, will be eligible for that extended time frame. Similarly on imports, wherein it's extended from 6 months to 12 months. I guess any queries can be sent to the email ID ceo@ncgtc.in in terms of any questions related to the scheme. So I'll also sort of separately, people may already know it, but it's an important communication as it relates to clarifications or questions you might have on that. So I guess in terms of looking inward, now margins are something which everybody, I'm not saying should forget, but it's It's now survival, and I think this is going to play out for the next 3 quarters, maybe till March 2021. And it's important for people to conserve cash, and there are various means to do it depending on the industry and the outlook. So broadly, with this whole Make in India initiative, and there are so many industries which are in the import substitution. I mean, there are possibilities to look at import substitution as a key component. Quite a lot of industries where we can look at oil, gems, precious metals, electrical machinery, and things like that. So that's an important outlook. Fundamentally, keeping the focus on cost and making sure that you're questioning each and every element of your cost in the P&L is the key thing to do with the bank. And that's something we as a firm, we pretty much do with all our clients. So it's an important consideration. Please, it's very important to start looking inward as it relates to how can I get more cash from my customers and vendors, and more importantly, how do I optimize my whole structure. So key thing to note is to not to over leverage on account of inefficiencies. How do I look at my cost? Am I sitting on any high value raw materials? How do I optimize that? So there is a need to sort of take a zero-based approach similar to what startups would do, called pivoting, wherein at the end of the day, it's about aligning demand and supply. And how you go about it is a very key thing. Maybe some painful decisions have to be taken, but at the same time, when it's a question of survival, you do what you need to do to unlock value within the existing balance sheet that you have. So that's a key component. Look at your credit policies, embrace technology to the extent of investment where you feel it's going to optimize your travel spend, things like that, and digital marketing, quite a lot of things happening in the artificial intelligence, machine learning, which will also help you to pivot to a digital marketing model as opposed to, because traditional advertising is going to come down per the CRISIL, and that's an important thing to look at. And then, as I said, the cost component, you look at fixed versus variable and move to more like a variable model, tap onto resources, which are more like the gig workers, and essentially make sure that you're surviving. Things like the lower TDS certificate, wherein you come down from a 10% TDS to a 2% based on your outlook. Tax departments are giving those certificates. And then get your MSME license, Udyog Aadhaar related applications, make sure your classification is right, and ensure that you're aware of all the benefits that the government is also providing, SIDBI related. So you have to be constantly on the lookout beyond banks. What are the other opportunities for you to get? And obviously you look inward in terms of the various matters. That's pretty much what I want to discuss, keeping in mind to sort of conclude that this is really a rapid outlier event which is going to affect all the business cycles, and the velocity of cash and how you go about it is very important. And that pretty much calls for a lot of reflection on your fundamental business model if it's aligning to the demand part of it. That's it, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jayaraman. I think very useful information. I think you have almost clarified and informed about all the, incentives and benefits by virtue of relief package, and also the other circulars which have come up from various sources, what is available for the MSME sector and how they can get the benefit. I think very exhaustively you have covered. Your point of, like it's a question of survival. And that is what in fact makes the whole thing very critical, because during these times, we need to do something extra. In fact, that is what is expected from the government and other stakeholders, institutions like SIDBI, banks, and whether they are government organizations, departments, tax departments, GST, that they will come out with some extra benefit. I am not saying that they will shell out money. At least the support, the hand-holding, the mentoring, guidance, timely information, timely response, so that these things are also very important. MSME owners, they may not be, because they don't expect that you will shell out immediately the money for them, like other countries have done that. But even if government has not been able to do that, but timely information, empathetic approach, giving them clarifications, so that their life becomes easier, in fact, to restart the operations. That is very important. Most of the people who talk to me and connect with me on daily basis asking information, they're struggling for want of information. They're struggling for clarification. They're not having adequate information that how do they cope up with the new guidelines of this and that, and labor and taxation, GST and money. Now, you rightly mentioned some of the banks may have started about this lending, 20% additional lending, which is supposed to be automatic. They should not be asking for papers because finance minister herself mentioned in her address it is going to be automatic. Second thing, some of the banks even till today are saying that they are still expecting, they are still awaiting for the directions and directives and detailed circular from their head offices. Now, what to do with this? How many days have passed? 15 days have passed. Now, if circular issuance, once the policy has been framed, it has been announced from the highest level in the government. Next day, the implementation should have started. Now, if people are still waiting for the circulars and guidelines, and it is taking fortnight, I mean that can be avoided. That is what I am saying, that it should be empathetic towards the beneficiaries for whom you are announcing the scheme. So, having said that, I would say the other point that you mentioned, import substitution, that becomes very important. And I would like to bring in Vijay Kumar ji here because one of the points that the Prime Minister mentioned in his address was vocal for local. He said vocal for local. Become very vocal for local. The objective is to bring back the manufacturing back to India, consume local, produce local, and local should become like international. So, what is the way forward for this kind of massive operation which can be taken up, because people are fed up with now imported cheaper products, bad quality from other countries. Vijay Kumar.
Yeah. Sir, I'll answer two questions for Mr. Jayaraman, which I took it on what he discussed. First one is all the nationalized banks, which I'm discussing with them, they are financing new projects also, new MSMEs also. There is no restriction. Let me give you in last 1 month, I personally, my office, we have got financed 10 such projects starting from 50 lakh rupees to 2 crore rupees under CGTMSE schemes, new projects. So there is no restriction on that look, we are talking only now the 20%. No, it is there. This is one part. Second is, yes, 20% is only for the existing industry. Those industry which neither they have taken any term loan or working capital, how 20% can go automatically to them? But this, my office is also come across many entrepreneurs came, sir, I have not taken any term loan. There was no CC limit also, but I want to take now 20% CC limit. I said, sir, how you can take it? But yes, you can take it. Then I asked the bankers. He says, no problem. Let them bring their the balance sheet and the GST return. Yeah, we will fix it up. I sent both the entrepreneurs to the banks, different banks. They calculate their working capital limit and they fix it up. One was 10%, other was some 15 or 20%. What I'm trying to tell you is that banks are practical. Banks are not going, just so rigid, because we are so monitoring, working closely with the bankers for both existing entrepreneurs and new entrepreneurs. Let me give you an example. This MIT University, 4 engineers came to us, all four different projects. Believe me, we got them financed from 50 lakh rupees to 1.5 crore rupees in a period of only 7 days. The loan was sanctioned. What I'm trying to tell you is that in case if some bankers are giving a problem, you may be sitting in Chennai or Bangalore or anywhere in India, please write your grievance on champions.gov.in. That's why we are here to help you out. This is one. Now, Kumar Sahib has said it for vocal, for local. Ministry is having a wonderful scheme. That's what the Prime Minister has also said it. Let us localize, let us Indianize, let us develop those items either as import substitute or those items which we can export. For that, we call it a design clinic scheme. Design means have an idea from your buyer, or you decide that I want to develop this new product. Now you as an entrepreneur cannot develop it, right? We will provide you the consultant. We will provide you the design consultancy organizations. They will develop it. And 25% just to 30%, this is your, kind of share. 75% or 70% subsidy one time, limiting from 15 lakh rupees to 40 lakh rupees we will provide. This scheme is only meant to develop a kind of those products which have potential either to export or we are importing as an import substitute. I'll give you an example, one more. Last week, what we have done it. Deep freezers, because of this, this medical emergency across the country because of COVID-19, deep freezers at presently are being imported from Taiwan, Korea. Two entrepreneurs came to us. Do you know that they were not having land? In just, I'm saying 30 days. They went to Yamuna Expressway office. They managed 2,500 square meter of land from them. Now the project report has been prepared. It has also been vetted by the bank, and they are ready to mortgage. But believe this is, sir, Government of India is paying about $10 million to import these freezers. If we start developing this, the kind of capacity. So what I'm in another 6 months, I'll say not 6 months, I'm very optimistic, maybe let us say maximum 9 months. These deep freezers for the hospitals, especially designed for hospitals, which are being imported from Taiwan, Korea, will be available from locally. It will call, vocal for local. So this 15 lakh rupees to 40 lakh rupees, this is the kind of subsidy will go to him. Ministry is having this scheme. So what I request you all members, if you want to design or if you have any inclination or if you have any product in your hand which you are finding difficulty in development, please let us know. We will get it developed for you. We will provide you subsidy also. You give us your small share. You will have drawings, material details, you have prototype products, so you can start manufacturing a mass production. This is the third one. Kumar Sahab has very correctly said it to me. Now, the fourth one. Why this is the right time for the millions of MSMEs in India right now to remove the entire waste. This is because now the skeleton manpower is there. Now, if there were earlier 10 people, now 5 people are there. We will provide you world-class consultant in your factory, maybe a group of unit 5, 6. Believe me, that consultant will guide you. No, earlier 10 people were wrong. Now you can have 90% of the production from these 5 people. And he will put these 5 people according to their capability and knowledge to the place where they can start, producing the products. We have done it. We have done it more than 1,000 industries. I'm saying in this Delhi NCR region. So this is wastage reduction. This is the right time for the MSMEs to bring that unit nearer to zero waste. I'm not saying zero waste. Zero waste is only this definition in Japan, where they claim that one product, if it is rejected out of 1 million, we call it Six Sigma, then they say, yeah, I'm okay. So this waste reduction, we are ready to provide you huge funding towards consultancy charges for the consultant. 80% cost we will pay, 20% little amount you pay. So these schemes are there, and this can be achieved, vocal for local, by designing of new products, making the unit world class by reducing the wastage. I'm coming to the last point, which we are starting now. I'm saying Delhi and NCR region. My offices. Now there is a huge demographic, changes have occurred. Huge manpower has been coming from, Gujarat to Maharashtra, from UP to there. Now, industry in Delhi, some association has approached us. Sir, the manpower which we are having it now is basically not trained to my shop floor, the machine which I do have. If association wants, we will start giving training, a batch of 30, 60, the maximum. Maybe, I'm not saying the entirely only, but on CNC machines, semi-automatic, depending upon the capability of that person. So that locally we trained these people, start training these people and providing the job to the locally in the MSME unit. This demographic changes which is coming up, I'm not saying, because they are the requirement for the industry may be in 1,000, 10,000 or 50,000. We cannot cope up. But I will do an experiment with 100, 200 or maybe maximum 500 days. Take those workers. These workers will be selected by the only MSMEs, and there will be a gap. That gap will be fulfilled by us. We will bring that worker to that level expectation of that entrepreneur, and then start producing or instead go to the shop floor and start running the machine. Yes, training may take 12 maybe according to we have discussed with association, minimum 12 weeks training is required, so 3 months training. So we have no problem. This is what we are planning, and if it is become successful, yeah, it can be taken up by the association themselves. We have told the association now, why don't you locate a place where machines are located, training can be given. You recruit the laborers, maybe a gap 20%, 30% or 40%. This gap, ministry will associate. We will start, assisting finance to you. This training, after that, you absorb those people. So they are very happy to listen that. So what I'm trying to tell you is that this new job, training, we have about 25 to 30 tool looms also. That tool looms is training basically 500 to 1,000 people in a year. So if I say 20, it becomes 20,000 or maybe 40,000. It may be a very small number. But we are working with the association with this demographic changes, because this is the big challenge which is started coming. Batli, Mayapuri, then many industry areas which have requested us. So we are working out a model with them. We will work maybe 1 or 2 model in a different way, and let us see how best we can train these workers and start solving their employment problem. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Vijay Kumarji. I think more useful information. But more I give you time, a lot of more information comes up. So
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I wish you continue to speak for some more time.
No, sir. No, sir.
In fact,
God bless you.
the information that you gave about champions.gov.in. Champions, if I'm not wrong, I think this is the address that you gave.
Yes.
Champions.gov.in.
Yes,
www.champions.gov.in. I think
yes.
MSME sector will be very relieved, because so many people have been asking me as to if we apply it to the bank and they don't entertain our proposal, if they don't sanction, it takes so much of time to get the response from such department, that department, not only bank but even other department, GST and all these. So where do we go? So I tell them,
Yeah.
you keep writing to their head offices, regional offices, but the moment you complain, you will be in difficulty, because they will say that you have complained against them. So I think this is a big initiative which the government has taken. I think Vijay Kumarji's department has taken, the ministry, setting up this control room and setting up these offices across the country. I think, if I'm not wrong, I think you mentioned, Vijay Kumarji, that all your MSME DIs, all NSIC offices, all KVIC offices, all Choir Board offices have become these, like response centers. And anybody, any MSME having problems with any of the organizations, departments, banks, can make their complaint. I would not say complaint, can raise their query and draw the attention of the government that this is what the proposal is that we have mentioned, we have submitted to this bank and we have given this information, and therefore we need help, expedite. So I think that
Dr. Kumar, you need to unmute yourself. Someone from your participants muted you.
Okay, now it's okay.
okay. So how long I was not audible, so that I can repeat?
No, it's maybe 2 seconds, 2-3 seconds.
So what I say is that this is a big help to the restarting of operations by the MSMEs. and resolving of a lot of um, problems which come in the way of working of the MSME sector. So
Sir, we will do. Sorry, sir. We will do it maybe more. I request rather, sir, you and maybe through you or all your colleagues.
Hmm.
We are ready to take the challenge for new projects. I
Great.
won't mind if you give me 10, 20, 30 per day. Let me see which banker is saying no.
Wonderful, wonderful, excellent. I think that's a great offer, and we will surely work together uh,
Yes, sir.
to, in fact, invite all those people who are facing difficulty in dealing with banks as far as their new projects are, or those who do not have the existing arrangements and they are not covered under 3 lakh crore worth of credit limit. I'd like to bring back Mr. Jaraman again to the scene. Mr. Jaraman, the specific issue that I thought would be very useful, in fact, for the MSMEs participants to understand as to what is the, as of now, what is the temperament and how is the MSME sector grappling with, what is the feel like? Are they comfortable with the gradual easing of operations and the relief package and the uncertainties which they have seen? So how do they look at the future based on your feedback and interactions with the industry in the field?
Clearly, I think MSMEs are looking for income protection. How that's going to happen, how banks are really going to make it easy at the ground level is going to define a lot of things. The key thing was all the NPA related issues and banks fundamentally stopping lending for quite some time now due to other issues. Now, the credit guarantee and the risk ratio related aspects, and the fact that NBFCs are also capitalized, but they will have a challenge in terms of moratoriums and things like that. Between the banks, financial institutions, and the NBFCs, there is enough incentive to start lending at a rapid scale, coupled with technology related elements. Going beyond the typical assessment of risk, I think there'll be other subjective elements which will be built in through the fintech platforms, which will also help hasten or speed up the whole loan processing cycle. I think that's a very, it's going to play out over the next few weeks or months, but I see the direction headed the right way. So ahead of that and parallel to that, I think it's very important to MSMEs to focus on all means to basically survive and conserve cash.
Can you unmute Mr. Raman? Jaraman, can you unmute?
Oh, sorry, I don't know how it got done.
Now it's okay. Now it's okay.
Am I audible for how long? I mean, I
Yeah,
hope.
yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
Now it's okay.
So I think the MSMEs are taking a cautious approach. Sorry, doctor. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's been a very cautious approach because one, the worker-related issues in terms of people going back to their native place is a big issue. People wanting to come back. As such, depending on the location of the MSME, the workforce-related restart is anywhere from 10 to 33%. I work out of a co-working space; it's practically empty. So it's going to take some more time, at least 2 to 3 months, before things get back to a reasonable state of normalcy. And then during this phase is when you need to conserve cash and take care of the absolute essential spend, and not get into a situation wherein you don't have people to do take care of production related requirements once the supply chain part is also getting addressed. So it's been very cautious. It's like people are only now starting to think about how to get back. The stimulus package, I don't think, is given hope in the true sense of what the MSME requirement is. But I feel it's headed in the right direction. And once the bank related aspects are taken care of, which, as I said, will play out in the next few weeks, we are going to see a much better lending platform which will align to the MSME requirements. But it's not going to be an easy thing in terms of past issues also being a factor as it relates to the bank's funding. Just because it's a collateral-free loan doesn't mean that you're automatically going to get it. So banks will take their additional screening. But I think subjective elements come in. The vendor and the customer ecosystem is going to have a lot of play in terms of managing the whole working capital cycle. So interesting times, and I think the nimbleness and the fact that MSMEs have to be agile and not look for perfection in this time is very important. Cash, I repeat that, I mean, it's cash is king now. We need to find the means to get cash and survive, let's say, till March 2021. And how we go about it, how we use the money that is going to be got as the 20% additional to repay, let's say, a loan which is preventing you from getting additional support, take care of the repayment of that loan, and then use the balance to pay your salaries or other opening balance related issues is going to define a lot of things. So the wisdom to spend where you have to absolutely spend becomes paramount, and good money should chase good money. I mean, good investments. So that is very important. Working capital cycle becomes important. How you look at your various force measure. I mean, that's an important thing because legally you have the right. The government has also clarified it's a force measure event. So we need to start negotiating rentals and get whatever reduction in terms of your things like rent for facilities and other offices. Question why you need a large office. So it has to be a hybrid thing of looking inward and outward. The banks, I think, are reaching that stage where it's going to start the flow of lending, but it's headed the right way. I think that we just need to be patient enough to sort of be in touch with not just the banks, look for all these schemes that are available, like Mr. Vijay Kumar articulated. And what we will also do as a firm is to sort of publish all the schemes that are available. So that way it becomes a sort of a one-stop shop, or at least people are aware of the various options beyond the bank-related funding. Could be in terms of subsidies, could be in terms of other subsidized loans, interest rate-wise from agencies like SIDBI, other programs that are available there. I think that supply of schemes from the government and the demand for those schemes from the MSMEs needs to align, and people need to be constantly looking out for that. And more importantly, make sure that you're also getting the right kind of people who understand your business. Could be CFOs, could be other people, and keep it at a variable cost. So you need that to sort of navigate, because you'll be trying to manage everything, and in that process, probably the focus is getting diverted. So pay where you have to pay to see value, and always talk to your customers, do the billing, and try to get the collections in such a way that you offer discounts to get the money faster. You negotiate with your vendors on rates and try to pay lesser. Review all the non-productive assets. I think it's quite a lot of things that have to be done. Expecting too much from the government and looking for direct, which I don't think is the case, but just when the mind is not fully in control of the situation due to an outlier event, it's important to keep the perspective right and expect what we can reasonably expect. So that would be my submission. So look at this scheme as more like an oxygen kind of support. Beyond that, it's the government is basically looking at it more in terms of like a guarantee in the event of default. It has to invoke the guarantee.
Yes. Surely, Mr. Jaraman. I think the 20% window that the government has given is basically, just a fillip to restarting the operations. In fact, to improve your liquidity position, but it's not a direct, reimbursement of any expenditure or something. But nevertheless, even this liquidity help also will do a great, work for the MSMEs to restart their operations. Because even if you have paid 3 months salaries and fixed expenses, they are not going to be with more than 20%. It has to be much less. And that will be a great help to restarting the operations. And this 20% additional ad hoc credit line is basically repayable after 1 year in a 4 years period. And everybody feels that probably by that time we should be able to build our operations again and come back to the original level that we were operating. So it's a although may not be like reimbursement of cost and expenditure as the MSMEs were expecting, but even this 20% liquidity injection also is a great help for the MSME sector. So we have deliberated, I think, quite a lot about what is available, what is the expectations, and what has been made available by the government. While there are so many other things which are required, but then the availability of windows for lodging your issues and getting the complaints addressed is also another great initiative. So I think it's time to seek questions, if there are questions from the participants, and involve the participants in our discussion. I'll request to Mr. Zumair and Sudamini. Sudamini, are you there?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. So I think you
Uh,
can start raising questions so that we can address.
so we have a lot of questions today, and I will need a lot of cooperation from you and all our speakers today to answer these questions. So you're on mute. If you could please unmute yourself. Yeah. So the larger question that we have today, and a lot of people have written this in today, it is about the banking sector. Most of the questions are about the banking sector, and a lot of people are saying that banks are not carrying out directives given by the government because they say they haven't received guidelines from their head offices. They have not started processing the funds. They are not providing 20% increment in working capital limit. There are certain banks which are, not sanctioning loans at a lower interest. And, there is a lot of discrepancy in how banks are operating. And, it seems that in spite of guidelines being given by the government and RBI, banks are simply not carrying it out because they say that they haven't received guidelines from the head office. How can this issue be addressed? How can the banks be told strictly to lend out to the SME sector or increase their limits? Even for SMEs, they are not special mention accounts also, they're saying they will check.
Can I answer this?
Yes, yes.
Ask all your members to write their grievance, the name of the manager, name of the bank on the grievance platform. We will take care. Which is the bank? Who is the officer? They got the instruction 20% they had to pay. If they are saying to an entrepreneur they have not received the instructions, please put a small grievance that entrepreneur on the champions.gov.in. Across the country, our office will take care. This is the answer.
Great, great. I
Thank
think
you, sir.
not better. I think maybe I couldn't have given a better answer than what Vijay Kumar ji gave. I think this is a fact. I was also mentioning in my opening remarks that while the policy has been announced almost a fortnight back, but then it is taking so much of time in communicating from the government to RBI, RBI to banks, and then banks head offices communicating to their branches, and the branches understanding, and they're coming up with the scheme and talking to the customers. All these things could have been avoided. All these things can now be avoided.
Yes.
So
Yes,
we have no option. I mean, as Mr. Vijay Kumar ji mentioned, that now there is no option but to write on the grievances cell, which situation should not have been allowed to exist if the timely action was taken with empathy towards the people, because ultimately the scheme is meant for the MSMEs, and you
Yes,
are going to give that money to MSMEs
yes.
ultimately. But then if you delay it by a month, the whole objective, timely credit, gets defeated. So that is my appeal, in fact, to all the concerned stakeholders. And in any case, when you write to the ministry under the grievances window, it has to be taken. It has to be addressed. It will be taken care of. So if there is no other option, then please do that. And with so much of confidence, I have heard very few people speaking, as Mr. Vijay Kumar, that we will take care once you write to us. So thank you, Vijay Kumar ji. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Next, Sudamni.
So the next big question that also a lot of people have asked, that after the change in definition of the SME sector, how do enterprises change their definition as per revised guidelines? If the status of their firm changes from medium to small or small to micro, how do they change it? How and where do they do it? What category do they mention in the forms while applying for these loans? Their previous status or the new status? And how MSMEs can get pending subsidies from the state and central government, the capital, especially with regard to the capital and interest subsidy, and also the CGTMSE fees reimbursement, because they say these are released and they can resolve the liquidity problem greatly.
I think who better than Vijay Kumar ji can answer.
No, sir. There's no issue. What was your first question?
So if SMEs have to change, as per the
I'm coming.
guidelines.
Okay. Now notification is coming maybe by this week or next week. So till such now notification doesn't come, you had to have with the old definition, correct? So this notification will be put on our website. You advise the entrepreneur to see on dcmsme.gov.in or msme.gov.in, this ministry website. So, but till such time, old definition they can write in, they can write as usual they are writing, maybe micro, small, and medium, depending upon the investment in the machines. Okay, this is the first part.
Yes, sir.
What was your second question?
So how can MSMEs get pending subsidies from state and central government?
No. See, it's state level. That's why I said it. State level, they had to take, with the respective state governments, maybe transport subsidy, any kind of subsidy, power subsidy. But as for the government of India is concerned, MSME ministry, we are here to, to take care. Maybe the kind of subsidy which we provide in marketing, participation in export exhibitions, other kind of subsidy. So MSME ministry subsidy, yes, our offices, MSME development institutes located from Jammu Kashmir to Kanyakumari, they take care. But for like subsidy from food processing ministry, subsidy from textile, subsidy from commerce, subsidy from steel ministry, entrepreneur had to take up with the respective ministry.
Right, sir.
Good. And let me add here, Sadamni, if you permit me, just
Yes,
for
sir,
2 seconds. In fact, as Mr. Vijay Kumar mentioned, that until the new notification comes up, all the existing MSMEs will continue to be, considered as per the existing status. After the new notification comes up, please read the new notification and the guidelines in that. So you have to work according to those new guidelines.
Yes.
The new guidelines may specify certain dates. It may also specify that what will happen to the existing units, because, so Damini, if I understand, somebody was asking what will happen if the change in classification happens from small to medium or medium to small or micro to small.
Yes,
so
sir.
Change will get effective subject to the provisions of those guidelines and notification which will be issued by the government. So that is very important, because what I know is that there is a provision, I think Vijay Kumar ji will agree, there is a provision and a notification by the government Ministry of MSME that even if your classification changes from micro to small or small to medium or medium to small, you will continue to get all the benefits for a period of 3 years.
Yeah, it is correct.
So there is nothing to worry about. Even if you change your classification, even if your classification undergoes a change because you break the eligibility limit fixed in the new definition, you will continue to get all the benefits of the government scheme, subsidies, everything other than the tax rebate, because that is qualified. The tax benefit you may not get, but other like incentives and benefits which are available to MSMEs, you will continue to get for 3 years. Now, this is a very important provision which people don't know. So look at the notification and be guided accordingly. So, Damini?
Yes, sir. Also, they say that its status is pending with the ministry. Is there any way that the MSMEs can follow up with them?
No, they need not to follow.
They need not follow. I mean, normal course, ministry should be able to clear it, but they can check with the department where they had got the sanction. See, initially, when you apply for some subsidy, you should have a sanction. So the department or the DI or any person who has given you the sanction, you can check with him as to what is the status. That is checking of the status, basically. Next.
Right, sir. So, why is there no special allocation of orders from the government only for micro units? All orders for MSME mainly goes to medium and small units, and now turnover has gone up to 100 crores. That's also included in MSME. So there needs to be some, is there any provision for special allocation for micro units only?
Let me answer. Yeah, please.
Sir, you can answer. Sir, you are the better person. No, sir, you can answer.
burdening Vijay Kumar ji with every answer, I thought let me take
No, sir, you cannot.
in fact, when you see the definition of the revised definition of the MSMEs, the definition of micro enterprises has got the maximum benefit, because there the investment limit has been raised from 25 lakhs to 1 crore and the turnover up to 5 crore. And manufacturing and service, both kind of enterprises have been merged now. So earlier service enterprise definition in micro sector was only 10 lakhs. So just imagine from 10 lakhs to 1 crore, 10 times increased for service enterprises in the micro sector, and 4 times increase in the investment limit for manufacturing enterprises, with turnover limit of 5 crore for both the enterprises. My assessment is that more than 90% of the entire MSMEs in the country will get covered under this definition. 90%.
Sir, 95%.
95%. See, I said more than 95%, but thanks to you. More than 95% or even 95% units are benefited.
Yes.
So it's only 5% which are remaining as small and medium. And so the apprehension that small and medium, I mean, I don't say that small and medium do not deserve concessions or incentives or promotion, because small and medium cannot compete with large. So in any case, small and medium also deserve some kind of consideration and concessions. But saying that small and medium take away the entire share of the MSMEs and leaving nothing for the micro is not based on facts. So 95% micro, they stand to benefit. 5% small and medium, on the contrary, small and medium are saying that we have been contained. Our limit of 50 crore and 100 crore turnover is going to contain us from growth, which is the objective of change in definition. So our turnover limit should have been much higher, and that is what is the debate going on. So I think that this apprehension is unfounded and should not be taken too seriously. Yes, Sadamani.
So the next question I would like to direct to Mr. Jayaraman. As per ECGLS operational guidelines, the collateral-free loan is available for any business entity, not necessarily an MSME, having borrowings less than rupees 25 crores and rupees 100 crores turnover. Could you please clarify on this?
Yeah, so clearly it is. Just a minute. Can you hear me?
Yeah, please carry on.
So the criteria is obviously the MSME classification. It's basically it's a top up on the outstanding as of 29th February, collateral free, eligible borrowers up to 25 crores outstanding loan and 100 crores turnover. It covers the working capital loans. That's what the current legislation is. The question is, does it apply for people more than that?
Yes, so between 25 crores and 100 crores turnover, less than.
No, the 25 crores is the outstanding loan, or up to 25 crores outstanding loan as of 29th February 2020.
Right.
And up to 100 crores turnover. Those are the people who are eligible for it.
Okay.
Let me add here, Sadamani.
Yeah.
All enterprises with turnover up to 100 crore, whose outstanding was up to 25 crore with the banks, are eligible. So if your outstanding credit was 25 crore or less, you are eligible. And if your turnover is less than 100 crore, you are eligible. Okay. But
Yes,
if you are crossing both these things, you may not be eligible.
Also, will non-fund based limit will also qualify as 20% loan scheme?
I have clarified non-fund basis.
Okay, all right. All right.
Sir, if there is no outstanding, then
If there is no outstanding, they are not covered. That is what
Yeah, it is correct. Yes, obviously.
that is the problem. That is what we mentioned, na? That those new units, and Mr. Vijay Kumar ji mentioned, na? That those new projects who do not have existing credit limits, they can come back to ministry and write to the
Yes.
so that such cases can be requested. And he
it
also
is not a case of new units, existing units who are not availed any bank loan so far,
Yes.
then in that case, they are existing from 2001.
Yes.
But they have no limits. They don't want the limits. But the additional burden now of the lockdown, this 20% should be available to them at 7.5%.
It will, I mean, what the government says is, we got the discussion done, that they are eligible under the existing guidelines of the bank. They are not barred. The only thing is they have to give little more papers. It is not automatic for them. If they apply under the normal course, we give all the balance sheets and tax returns, their limits also will be sanctioned.
So that means they are normal borrower. Normal borrower.
Yes, they are the normal borrowers.
Normal borrowers, whether they want it or not.
Correct.
The other question may I pose, sir? It is about the non-payment within 45 days of the supply.
Yes.
And most of them are the PSUs, railways. They are not paying in 45 days.
Vijay Kumarji, I think you can.
Sir, this particularly finance ministry and our MSME ministry is taking care of. Both the ministers, let me say so, Gadkari ji and Mrs. Sitaraman, they are personally taking up with the respective ministries. Just wait. I think things should be through, because things should be through. Just wait. It is at the highest level. It is at the highest level. Things are going on.
They have already, instructions are already given, but the PSUs are not obeying it. That's the main issue.
That's what I'm saying. So if any CPSU is not obeying, if your payment is pending, please write your grievance on champions.gov.in. That's why I'm saying again and again. So write your grievance on champions.gov.in.
So,
Please
but then
write.
with
So we will
private
take it
sector,
up. Pardon?
hello.
Yes, so that
Yes.
So with private sector companies which are not making the payment within 45
No,
days.
no. Private sector ministry cannot do anything.
yes, so that
Yes, sir.
MCA can help if it's a company.
I think the questions can come through Sodamini, then it will be better. Otherwise, there will be cross talks.
Sir, Mr. Praveen is asking, are cooperative banks also given limits to fund MSMEs?
All scheduled commercial banks, that is what the government mentioned.
Yes.
And cooperative
Yes, correct.
banks are also scheduled commercial banks,
Scheduled bank.
many of them.
Right, sir.
So they'll be covered.
Right. All right, sir. That's all for today. Thank you so much.
So we have had very useful deliberations. I think most of the questions have been addressed. If there are any more questions, you can still write to Power to SME and also to champions.gov.in. If there is any issue, you can also take up with Mr. Vijay Kumar, who is the director of MSME DI Ukla, Ministry of MSME, and we will try to address to the best of our ability. Well, the scenario is gradually improving. As Mr. Jayaraman mentioned, that we have to be patient. Little more patience will surely help us, because the last 2 months have been, kind of so much of uncertainty and desperation, with losses and losses, staring and without any, home, certainty coming in. Now gradually things are falling in place. The government is
Yes, sir.
sensitive. And let me tell you, in the history of MSME, I have been associated for the last around 40 years. So is Mr. Vijay Kumar. MSME sector has not been discussed so much in the history of MSME or India as it has been done over the last 2 months.
Yes, correct.
Isn't it?
Yes, last 2 months, yes.
MSME sector
Yes.
has come at the top of our policy maker.
Yes,
Top of mind of our policy maker.
yes, sir.
And now anything which is discussed, any fiscal policy, any financial policy, any corporate policy, MSME sector always remains in their minds. So I am sure that future of MSME is bright. Little hurdles and little obstructions which have been created because of this COVID lockdowns and uncertainties and sudden, closure of this entire economic activity are going to impact the working of the MSMEs. But I am sure that over a period of next 3 to 6 months, things will come back to the normal, and we will be able to regain our glory and the scale and the profitability and the level of operations which we were doing earlier. This also gives us an opportunity to innovate, to bring in new things, maybe because of the non-availability of labor, maybe we bring more technology, we bring industry 4, we bring IoT, we bring CNC machines, we bring automatic systems. It gives some kind of closes on one side, we have opportunity on the other side also. So it's a like a dynamic situation, and we shall be able to get the best of whatever is available to us in the given situation. So thank you very much. I think I am grateful to the whole team and the entire panel, Shri Vijay Kumarji, who is always there.
Thank you, sir.
Who is always there for the MSME sector, and I am sure that he will continue to be a partner in our future programs also. Great.
No, sir. I will always there. I'll always be there.
Thank you, Vijay Kumarji. And Mr. Jayaraman, you are really a very experienced, person who has very rich experience of working with the MSME sector. Your inputs were very useful, very informative, very educative. So thank you very much for coming to this program, and hopefully we will continue to have more interactions in future for the benefit of the MSME sector. I also thank Wadhwani Foundation, in fact, who has partnered for organizing this program. My thanks to, we should be thankful to Ms. Sudha Sareen, who has been the main person behind organizing this webinar and conducting these programs and regular interactions with the MSME sector. She is the Senior Vice President of Power to SME. And my colleagues, Mr. Zumair and Sodamini, who are in fact people working behind the scene for putting together this entire setup and networking, organizing, fixing up the speakers, inviting the participation, and also guiding everyone, preparing the questions, also draft questions. So nice of you. I think you two are doing a great job, a wonderful job. Keep it up, Zumair and Sodamini. So my thanks to all participants, in fact, the MSMEs. As I mentioned in my closing comments, we have to keep patience and see that the government continues to keep MSMEs in their mind while making any policy. And hopefully that, as my information is from the discussion, MSME is going to get a lot of boost in the future policies of the government. Particularly since MSME sector is the one which is, in fact, which has the capacity to create more and more employment opportunities. And looking at this condition, looking at the condition of the unemployment in the country, I think MSME will get more and more incentives and benefits. So let us have the patience and keep doing our job to the best of our ability. So thank you all. Thank you very much. Let us come to
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Over to Mr. Zumair.
Thank you, Dr. Kumar. Thank you, our speakers, Mr. Ramesh and Mr. Vijay Kumar. And we have shared the email IDs of our guest speakers today on chat with the participants. And you might also be getting very queries from the participants directly. And if anyone contacts us, Power to SME team, we will be directing them to you accordingly. So thank you, everyone, for joining, and good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.